Older Women is the 9th episode of Season 6 of Everybody Loves Raymond. This is directed by Gary Halvorson, and as always there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode chronologically and share some thoughts. It's a good episode with some really decent moments. It starts off with Lois and Debra in the bedroom, and Lois happens to mention that Debra's father, Warren, is bringing a friend to Thanksgiving. I will say that Warren should have asked first, because you don't just invite somebody to somebody else's house for Thanksgiving. But nevertheless, this is a reality. And Debra's really upset by this. They've only been separated for, I think she said, 8 months. She can't believe her father's dating somebody already. But Ray, to his credit, was saying all of the right things. As long as Lois is happy and fine with it and she doesn't think it's a big deal, then what's the problem? And for the most part, I agree with that. And Debra, not for the first time, was being unreasonable with her treatment of Ray. She was being really unfair to Ray because, in my opinion at least, he said the right things. I think to take more of a time to acknowledge that this is difficult for Debra. To see one of her parents dating somebody else, ostensibly her parent dating her future stepmother, in a way of speaking, is going to be quite emotional for her. And I think the episode could have actually lent into that a little bit more. But certainly I think Ray should have been a bit more mindful of that. And then Warren arrives with Emma. I will say it's not the most Thanksgiving-y episode. I feel like this could be set in any time of year. It could be any just gathering of the family for a birthday party or something. Whereas some of the other Thanksgiving episodes really feel Thanksgiving-y. But this one, not so much, but it's still pretty good. And Warren arrives with Emma, and she's played by Patricia Place. And she's a lot older than everybody thought. And there are a lot of references to old within the first couple of minutes. And they really lean into this because she's tired, she needs a nap. Because apparently when you're old, you need a nap, which, to be fair, can be the case. I'm 33 and could quite do with a nap most days. And then Warren takes her upstairs to lie down, and they walk really slowly up the stairs, really laying it on thick that she's definitely a lot older than they were expecting. And Ray said, "Oh, it's good. She's not younger. She's just different." And that really hurt Lois. Ray didn't mean to hurt her, but evidently he didn't leave Lois, or he didn't turn his attentions to somebody younger. Because while that's not excusable or understandable in any way, it would make sense. He left you because he was suddenly interested in dating younger women. But with what Ray said, and I probably don't need to over-explain this, never mind, but what Ray said implies that he's happy to date somebody around Lois's age, or maybe even a little older. He just wants somebody not like Lois. And that hurts more. So it was not a great moment for Ray in that regard, and the women all go for a walk, and the guys are talking about it, and Ray is trying to say that he just says things backwards, he means the opposite, at which point Frank responds, "Kill is going to Debra you," which I thought was very, very funny. And Warren explains that when he's with Emma, he feels younger, he feels more full of life, which is interesting, because usually that's the argument that people give when they're dating somebody younger. When they're dating somebody who's maybe more youthful and lively, it makes them feel that way. But I guess with Warren, he's seeing that actually he could be older and maybe his movements could be slower. So it makes him feel maybe more appreciative for the energy that he has, or maybe makes him more aware of his energy. So I thought that was an interesting argument. I'd never really thought about it that way before. And Marie and Debra then come in and they really lay into Ray. And then Marie hits Frank, which kind of came out of nowhere, and it was very well executed. And then Frank tells us a rather sweet story about how he resisted Claudia the cleaning lady, because apparently Ray had eyes for Claudia the cleaning lady back in the day, and Frank tells a story of how she came on to him. I don't necessarily think she did, but that's how Frank read the situation. And he resisted her because he has Marie at home, and in his own way, it was a really sweet story. And I rather liked it. Lois then comes in, and Ray says all of the right things to her, and she genuinely seems okay. I think she needed that time to herself to just deal with the sudden onslaught of emotions. I imagine it's going to be constantly a roller coaster of heavy emotions and then feeling a little bit okay and calmer and then maybe another big dip. And she just needed some time, and she seems okay, which I think was good. And Ray said all of the right things. And then, not necessarily because I think he felt it, but because he's awkward and doesn't know how to talk to Lois, he called her mom. And I don't think Marie acted or reacted the way I would have expected. She clearly wasn't happy that Ray called Lois mom, but I think she would have had a stronger knee-jerk reaction. I don't know, maybe in the moment she realised that that's what Lois needed to hear, and Lois was hurting, so she was okay with it. But she makes up for it because in the final scene, they're around the dinner table, they're having Thanksgiving dinner, and both Marie and Lois are babying Ray, which is absolutely adorable. And then Robert starts considering the possibility of dating someone Emma's age, and it was a nice way to end things. I liked it. I thought it was really good. I would have liked to have spent a bit more time with Emma. I think they could have gotten a little bit more out of the character. But that being said, everything flowed well. The pacing was really great. Very funny episode, I think. There are some good messages in this about how not to handle this situation if you are the Ray in this scenario. Don't say things that Ray said. And also be aware of how the Debra of the scenario might be feeling. But also, don't completely be like Debra either and lay into Ray when really he said all of the right things, at least earlier on in the episode. So I loved it. Not the most Thanksgiving episode, but nevertheless, Older Women is still a brilliant episode of Everybody Loves Raymond.